that's a very, very important part. And I think Stephen Covey hit it right on the head with that one. Okay? In the fields I have studied, emotional intelligence is much more powerful than IQ in determining who emerges as a leader. IQ is a threshold of competence. You need it, but it doesn't make you a star. Emotional intelligence can. Again, so what's the difference between being good at your job, okay, and great at your job, okay? Do you want people to remember you as being very, very strong and very switched on technically, okay? Or do you want people to remember for you as a mentor, as someone who has helped develop them, okay, and let them be empowered to do the things necessary on a day-to-day basis to get the job done at a very, very high level? I think that's pretty much where we're at on that, okay? Emotional connectivity and engagement, okay? I'll talk a little bit about this. I wish I could talk a long time about this because this, for me, is very, very close to my heart about the way I feel about things. It's all about having a strong culture and a strong brand, okay? One of the things I love about Shangri-La, and one of the reasons I've been with the company now for 10 years and I don't have any probably desire to leave for another company, is because we have a very, very strong corporate culture. And we have a manifesto. And our brand manifesto there, it makes up our philosophy, our vision, our mission, our core values, our guiding principles, our universal core practices, and our key strategies to achieve excellence. It's a combination of a lot of things that we, without it, in getting our employees to buy into all those things, it's a little bit difficult for us to be consistent in rolling out our style of hospitality, especially as we go into Europe, which we have 2 hotels coming up this year in Paris and Vienna, as we come into Canada and open a second hotel in Canada, because we are truly an Asian hotel company. So how do we spread that culture into other places like the Middle East, where we currently have 4 hotels, or into other places like, India, for example? So being truly Asian is not really the point. It's about sharing the same type of culture. I'll tell you a little bit about that, our philosophy. And it starts with a caring family. Okay? We like to think that our business and all of our employees are part of our family. Okay? Not part of our business, they're part of our family. Okay? And making that emotional connection with them is a very, very important part of that. Making that emotional connection with our guests is also a big part of that. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute when we talk about our core values. Our vision is to be the first choice of our guests, colleagues, shareholders, and business partners. We like to think that people want to come to work for us because of what we are. We like to think that people come stay in our hotel because they like that we are. We like to think of these people as part of our family. Shareholders and business partners are also a big part of that, especially as we have management contracts where we have owners outside of our own company. Our mission is to delight our guests every time by creating an engaging experience of hospitality straight from our hearts. When I show you our core values, you get a little bit more understanding of that. But what do we try to tell people, what we try to teach our employees is that to make a truly memorable experience for people, it has to be a sincere gesture from your heart. Okay? If you don't have the heart of a servant, you don't belong in this business. You have to make sure that you go beyond doing your job. It's a very simple thing. Most places you go, you pay for something and they deliver a certain amount of service. That's expected. If you stay in a 5-star hotel, you would expect that to be perfect. You wouldn't expect anybody to make any mistakes. That's part of going to work every day in a 5-star hotel and the demands of working in a 5-star hotel, but that's what we pay you for, okay? But again, going from a good guest experience to a really great and memorable guest experience about that emotional connectivity with the guest. If it's coming from your heart, people will remember it, okay? And that's really the key essence of our brand and what we try to make sure that our employees do each and every day when they come to work, okay? This is our manifesto. I won't read that all to you because what we'll do is we'll give this presentation to you. But this is a little bit about our heartwarming family. It does talk about Asia, but again, it's not important that you are Asian or you're not Asian in our culture. What's important is you share the same values that we do. And that gets us to really the core values of our company. Humility, courtesy, respect, helpfulness, and again, sincerity coming from your heart. Now, what I learned when I went to Australia is that Australians, for example, are very helpful and they're very courteous, like Canadians, to the most part, I've experienced. Respect and humility are something that maybe people don't necessarily connect sometimes to Western cultures, but again, I use Southern hospitality as an example of that. Where I come from in the South, where my mom comes from in the South, I should say, you know, humility and respect is actually right up there on the top, okay, as a way that they interact with people on a basis. Whoops, I went too far there. How do I go back? Okay. I think I got to go press P over here. I'm sorry for that. I got a little bit too clicking there. There we go, back to that. Sorry for that. Okay. Again, the other side of the part of it that's probably the most difficult part is selflessness. Okay? And that's giving more than you get, and giving not expecting to get anything back in return. Okay? I have a 20-year-old son. Sometimes selflessness is not probably on the top of his list in interacting with me and his mother. Okay? So it's something we try to remind him of all the time, that you've got to give a little bit more than before you expect something. That's a little bit difficult to sort of teach people that. But what we find is if they can wrap their heads around those values, okay, and about serving from your heart, usually the selflessness comes naturally. Again, we're in the hospitality business. We're in the business of taking care of people. So again, you don't necessarily give something or do something for somebody expecting a tip or expecting something in return. It has to come from your heart. If it comes from your heart, selflessness is something that sort of kind of follows along on that. So again, our business is all about sacrificing, and I've been in the business for most of my life, and it's all about doing things for others. And again, knowing that probably, you know, good karma always comes around. If you do something good, usually you'll get it back twofold. Might not happen right away, but eventually it'll get there. But those are our core values, and it's something I believe in very, very strongly myself, and that's why I love working for Shangri-La. Strategic thinking. I guess you do some strategic management, okay? And I think, you know, strategic thinking is something as you move up, you know, I think it's a very, very important thing for you to sort of kind of get your head around. I'm not going to get into it too much, but it's really about determining long-range objectives and then short-term actions to support those long-term objectives. That's the essence, okay? The ability to analyze where you are in the market, okay? And when we talk about things like, you know, market segmentation and those type of things, it's very, very good to have the understanding of where you are as a business and where you want to be as a business, okay, and how and where you want to compete. We've chosen right now in North America, because of the sort of the meltdown that happened at the beginning of last year when we opened up our Shangri-La in Vancouver, we're not actually aggressively expanding in North America right now. There's a lot of distressed assets that are out there. But we're being very, very careful about it. Again, Shangri-La's core competency is owner-operator. We actually build most of our hotels and operate them. Choosing to compete in North America is more on management contracts. And sometimes the family actually doesn't feel very comfortable with that, because then you're actually sometimes owners, they sometimes act like they own the place, because they do. And they have different ideas about culture. They have different ideas about different standards in the hotel. Sometimes our family doesn't really think, you know, that's maybe the right way to go. And it's quite difficult to adapt and sort of, you know, find win-win solutions for some of those things when the brand is being compromised. So we've chosen actually, when we talk about positioning and competing here, it's a very strategic decision for Shangri-La not to aggressively go forward in North America right now, given the economic situation and also the business model required to be competitive in this environment. Okay? I think I'm out of juice here. There it is. Okay, create a vision for long-term sustainable advantages, strengths and weaknesses. I think probably as you go through your strategic management, I think you'll learn about SWOT analysis and all that. It's very, very important to identify. Again, when we talk about that from a company perspective, what we've chosen to do, and it's also the way we actually manage our people as well, we try to emphasize as much as possible our strengths, okay, and to accentuate our strengths. We do try to work on our weaknesses as well, whether it's an employee